Hello, my name is Kemboi. This is According to Kemboi. Welcome to the channel. So today we're discussing how the government makes money from you. We all know this. There are a lot of ways that governments can collect money from you, whether you like it or not. Sometimes you don't really have an option. It's sometimes mandatory, compulsory, right? But uh, today we're going to talk about that. One of them is taxes, right? We all know this. Everyone pays taxes, regardless of your age, regardless of where you come from. As long as you're living, as long as you're just alive, you're paying taxes, whether you like it or not, either directly or indirectly. So taxes is one of the sources, government sources of revenue. How the government, how you are helping the government make money. Yeah. So, and when it comes to taxes, we've got things like income tax, VAT, fuel levy, excise duty, withholding tax, etc., etc. Right? So, when it comes to withholding taxes, those are taxes that are really charged on consultants. Right? If you're a consultant somewhere offering your services, you find that there is some withholding tax. Or for those who are investing in money market funds, for example, whenever you make some interest, gains from your money market funds deposits, there is some 15% withholding tax. Yeah. So essentially, those are irrefundable money that goes to the government. And then when it comes to consultancy, you already have to uh, declare the rest of your income. How do you use it? Yeah. So that if you have something like additional income, you pay. But when it comes to money market funds, some the withholding tax is final. Yeah. That's according to Kenyan law. That is. So taxes is just one big way that governments can make money out of you. And then there's indirectly taxation, right? So this is where you see someone, if you are unemployed, for example, and you go to a shop, buy something, you find that you're paying taxes on top of the price of the good. If the price of good is 100, you can find that probably a tax is 10 bob. Yeah, so you'll pay a total of 110 shillings. Yeah, for the value of goods. I mean, for the price of goods, right? Then another second source is government service fees. Yeah, so services offered by the government. I know for those who are Kenyans, you find that you're supposed to visit something like the Uduma Center or a government institution somewhere for you to have those services. Some of us even do it online through e-citizen, right? So you find that you have to pay at some point. You have to pay fee. A good example is during passport applications, right? You find that you have to pay a certain amount. Yeah, I think right now it's about 7,500 to around 10,000, depending on the number of pages your passport is. And then there is birth, marriage, death certificates. You definitely have to pay for those as well. I think I saw the other time in 2022, the Kenyan government introduced fees, for first time ID applications, and also there were introductions of expiries on IDs, right? So you find that after 10 years, your ID will expire, and then you have to sort of renew it. Yeah. I know a lot of people think that it's unfair because considering the fact that we are all Kenyan citizens and we're Kenyan citizens, yeah. If you're a citizen of this country, why should you keep renewing your ID, right? And someone can argue that we are somehow buying the citizenship, right? So we find that those are just some of the services, and another service is court filing fees, police abstraction reports, yeah, penalties as well. Yeah, so those are just services. And then another one is state-owned enterprises. Yeah, essentially these are parastatals that are owned by the government or companies owned by the government. You see, government has got like shares, shares in different companies. For example, Kenya Power. The Kenyan government has some holding, some shareholding in Kenya Power, and also Safaricom. I think the Kenyan government is one of the largest shareholders in Safaricom PLC, right? It holds about, I think, 25% shareholder. So you find that that's a lot of money that the government collects and makes, every year from their businesses, yeah, including those parastatals. So talk of Kenya Railways, KRA, NHIF. Yeah, anytime citizens contribute, the government benefits. If those parastatals make profits, Kenya Highways, yeah, the government has to benefit in some way or the other through dividends, profits, and stuff like that. Huh? Another one is fines and penalties. Yeah, for those who've been arrested before, you've paid a fine. That's of course if you did not go to prison, right? You find that if you've violated, maybe you've done traffic violations, KRA non-compliance with KRA, environmental offenses. Maybe you've carried plastic bags. In Kenya, by the way, plastic bags are banned. So if you're caught, you could be arrested and penalized, right? And those penalties, they end up in the government. Yeah, the government gets richer as a result of that. And then now, another one is natural resource exploitation. Yeah, you see, the government literally owns the whole country. I know can you can be owning some land somewhere, thinking that you're the only owner, but you know that the government owns all the country. Yeah, and the government can today decide that we are constructing a road to pass this area, and there's nothing you can do, even if it crosses through your in the middle of your land, right? Of your shamba, right? Or the government can decide, you know what, there is oil in this land, and they can decide to just compensate people who are living within that area and explore resources in that area. So you find that that is one of the ways that a government can benefit, from citizens and from the country in general. So you find that even if citizens decide to extract themselves, let's say they own the companies which are extracting, yeah, those resources, then they have to pay royalties to the government, yeah. They have to pay for licenses, to run the business. And I think this applies to even ownership of businesses, because if you want to own a business, you definitely have to have a license, and that license is given by the government, and the government controls who to give the licenses and how much it charges to give out those licenses. So that's one of the ways the government makes money from you. Another one is court awards, yeah, actions and confiscations. So let's say, for example, there's a political figure, maybe they've exceeded office, yeah, right? And I think there are some governors in the country in Kenya who've been accused of corruption, and you find that they end up in court. And if they do that, the government comes, and if it finds you with offenses or having looted public property, you definitely have to return that money. And that's how the government can get the money from you, right? If you stolen, right? Or used if you misused your office powers, right? If you've misused your title when you're in power. So you find that they have to penalize you, or sometimes they can even auction your goods and services, or your assets. They can sell your assets to recover their money, or even penalize you, right? Especially if those assets are not really locked in trusts or in an LLC, right? So you find that they come for you individually if you're not protected under an LLC or a trust, right? And I think that's when it comes to trust. I think that's one of the topics that I think we are going to discuss at some point. You find that that's one of the ways in which the rich can sort of protect their wealth instead of just having it, without really having it in trusts. So you find that the government can come and take that from you. Yeah. Sometimes it can borrow from you, borrowing from citizens. How does it do that? Through something like treasury bills and treasury bonds. So the government can offer those bills and bonds, and then the citizens can purchase those. Essentially, it's like lending to the government, and then As a result of that, they pay you back your money with interest on top. And then you know what they do? They tax the interest. Yeah, they tax the interest. So and that's how they benefit. So you've risked your not you've given them your money probably out of generosity of out of investment, but somehow they have to again tax the returns. Yeah, you have to pay some percentage of the returns. You cannot just take everything. No, no, no. You have to pay to the government, and that's how it just makes its money, I guess. Yeah, and then county levies and local fees. Yeah, so when especially this, I think applies to county governments. Yeah, or provincial governments for some countries who don't have counties. So you find in Kenya we have got counties. We have like 47 counties. So you find that each county is runs as a mini government, within the bigger government. Yeah. And so you find that these counties are headed by governors and they have their own parliament and stuff like that. Essentially, it's a whole government running on its own, but under the national government. So you find that they charge things like parking fees, OCA fees, market stall rent, waste collection fees, construction approval charges. I know even in some places, in some cities, you find that they have to sort of restrict, the how high buildings can be constructed. Yeah, and you find that even governments have found a way to monetize, construction. You have to like apply for the permits and stuff like that, and then that's how now how they sort of collect money. Yeah, and then number nine is mandatory contributions. You see things like insurance, health insurances. You have to sort of pay the government for them to provide universal health coverage, right, to its citizens. And you find that these are just one of the ways the government can make money. Another thing is pension schemes. Yeah, if you're an employee, somehow you have to contribute to the government. You need to contribute to your pension scheme, whether you like it or not. It's mandatory. So in Kenya, we have got like these NSSFs that offer pension schemes. Yeah? So you deposit your money, then when you retire, you can then withdraw your money, right? I know some people can complain, and some people can be doubtful that they're not going to receive, but that's how the money government gets the money, and you find that you're saving as when you're in your 20s and then you retire in your 70s or 60s, right? So if you started saving from 20, you find that the government has invested that money, but they're not really paying you the compounding effect of it. Yeah, they invest your pension schemes, make profit out of it, and then they just pay you the capital. Yeah, so that's just one of the ways it does. Licensing and permits. Yeah, so if you want to do anything in this country, you run any business, you need to license to apply for licensing, and like you need to apply for permits. Yeah, if you're a fisherman, there is fishing permits. There's mining permits, there is work permits, especially for those who are not the citizens of the country, there's work permits, business licenses. If you're a foreigner, in fact, they charge you a little bit higher. So, and that's how the government collects its revenue, yeah, from you, the citizen. So you find that essentially that's how government, in fact, someone can argue that we are sort of assets to the government. As long as you are alive, you are contributing to the government, and the government is benefiting from you being alive. In fact, if you die, they sort of charge you, yeah, one last time, right? Yeah, I heard someone say that. Well, what do you think? What is it that you think is another method that a government can benefit from you? Yeah. Do you like the video? Leave a like, and of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'll read them. Also, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate your support, and see you in the next one. Bye.